On my wedding day, my MIL pulled me aside before I walked down the aisle and said, "You still have time to say no. He'll always belong to me first." I thought it was just a power play. But when the officiant asked if anyone objected, she stood up. My husband just laughed and said, "She's just emotional." We got married anyway. But that night, she posted the entire speech she would have given if I'd said no. It ended with, "Maybe someday he'll come home." The wedding was in Traverse City, Michigan. Small church, nothing too flashy. I wanted it simple. I'd been with Jake for 5 years. Thought I knew everything about him. Thought I'd seen all the worst of his mom. I was wrong. His mom, Barbara, always had this cold way about her. Sharp eyes, always watching. And not in the sweet, caring kind of way. More like she was always waiting for a mistake so she could remind you how things should be done her way. She had this grip on Jake that always made me uneasy, but I chalked it up to him being a mama's boy. I didn't see how deep it ran. Day of the wedding, I'm standing at the back of the church with my dad. The music's about to start. I can hear the shuffle of people getting ready to stand. And then she appears beside me. She was wearing this dress, deep purple, almost burgundy. Not quite funeral, not quite wedding guest. Her lipstick matched. Everything about her screamed that she was making a statement. She looked right at me and said, "You still have time to say no. He'll always belong to me first." Just like that. I remember blinking at her, like I didn't hear it right. Then I laughed. It felt fake, forced. I just muttered, "Not today, Barbara," and turned away. I should have taken it seriously. I should have told someone. I should have walked. But I didn't. I walked down that aisle with my dad. My heart was pounding, but I thought I was just nervous. Jake was smiling. Everything felt surreal. Then the officiant got to the part. "If anyone has reason why these two should not be joined in marriage, speak now." Barbara stood up. She stood up in front of everyone. There was a beat of silence, then a few gasps. I turned to look at Jake. He didn't look shocked. He didn't even look mad. He laughed. Like it was some joke. Like she was just being dramatic. "She's just emotional," he said out loud to the room, shrugging. People laughed. Some even clapped. Like it was cute. The officiant gave her a tight smile and moved on. I stood there frozen. That should have been the end of it right there. That should have been the sign. But I kept going. We said our vows. I kissed him. And the whole time, I could feel her eyes burning into me. Reception was fine. A little tense. She gave a toast, of course. Talked mostly about Jake's childhood. Barely mentioned me. But again, I told myself it was just her being her. But that night, while we were still at the venue, my cousin pulled me aside. "Did you see what your mother-in-law just posted?" She held up her phone. Facebook. Barbara had written a full speech. Like a monologue. Long paragraphs about how Jake had been hers first. How she watched another woman take him away. How she prayed he would see the truth. And it ended with, "Maybe someday he'll come home." It hit me like a punch. That wasn't grief. That wasn't letting go. That was obsession. I showed it to Jake. He laughed again. "She's being weird. Yeah, but she's just having a hard time. It'll pass." It didn't pass. That was just the beginning. After the wedding, I thought maybe she'd calm down. We moved into a townhouse about 20 minutes outside of town. I told Jake I didn't want her having a key. He agreed, at least he said he did. One afternoon about a month later, I got home from work and found Barbara in my kitchen. Not knocking, not waiting outside. Just standing there, stirring something on my stove like she owned the place. "Thought I'd surprise you," she said, not even turning around. "Jake said I could come by and cook for you too." I didn't say anything. I just texted Jake, "Did you give your mom a key?" He replied, "Only for emergencies." Didn't think she'd use it without asking. She smiled while I read it. She knew. From then on, it was always something. She'd show up when I was home alone. say she felt like I needed company. She'd do our laundry without asking. I once found my underwear folded in neat little stacks in the hallway, with notes about which ones looked more appropriate. She started buying things for Jake, leaving them around the house. Slippers, pajamas, a watch, and when I asked him about it, he'd just brush it off. She means well. Then, our first Christmas as a married couple, we hosted dinner. I made the food, cleaned everything, decorated. Barbara showed up with a full cooked ham and handed it to Jake right in front of me. I knew you'd want something real, she said. Didn't want you to just have that. She didn't even look at me. Jake didn't defend me. He carved the damn thing. Served it to everyone. When I brought it up later, he just said, "It's not worth fighting about. It's just food." But it wasn't just food. It was her way of telling me I wasn't enough. Then she started calling him late at night. I'd be in bed, half asleep, and I'd hear his phone buzz. Sometimes he'd get up and take it in the other room. When I asked, he said, "She just gets lonely. I'm all she has." I started to feel like the third wheel in my own marriage. One night, I finally snapped. "I married you, not your mother. Why does she get more of you than I do?" He looked at me like I'd slapped him. Then he said something I'll never forget. "She was there first." That's when I knew. Deep down, he didn't really choose me. I was just another woman in his life, not the woman. After that, I stopped trying so hard. I stopped planning things, stopped inviting her, stopped caring if Jake noticed. I waited. I watched. And then, one day, I saw the message. It was on his phone. He left it on the counter while he showered. From Barbara. "Don't let her drive you away. You know where home really is." Same words she used in that Facebook post. I didn't say anything right away. I just started my plan. I needed her to feel what I felt. To lose something. To watch it happen slowly. To know she couldn't stop it. And I needed him to see it all. To see what he'd chosen. I started small. Nothing loud. Nothing obvious. I stopped updating Jake on things. If I got a bonus at work, I didn't mention it. If I planned something fun, I didn't invite him. I let silence settle in. I became distant, polite, almost like a roommate. He noticed, but not enough to really ask why. Then, I found the journals, tucked in a bin in the basement. He told me not to worry about cleaning down there. It was just old stuff. But curiosity got the better of me. They were hers. Barbara's. Dozens of notebooks, years' worth. Each one packed with entries about Jake. Not about family memories or things mothers keep. These were more like love letters. Obsessive, weirdly romantic. She wrote things like, "He's the only man who's never broken my heart, and when he holds me, I feel whole again." There were notes about me too. Early on, before she even met me, he says he's seeing someone. A quiet girl. I'm not worried. She'll never understand him like I do. Then later, she's changing him. I can see it. She wants to take him away. I felt sick. I took pictures of every page that mentioned me, saved them to a folder, just in case. And then I started working on Jake's friends. Quietly. I reached out to his best friend, Chris. We'd always been friendly. I asked him to meet for coffee, just to talk. He showed up. I didn't even have to push hard. "I've tried to tell him," Chris said, "for years. It's like she has him under some spell. He doesn't even hear himself when he talks about her." Then he paused. "She ever tell you about the apartment?" My heart dropped. "What apartment?" Chris looked guilty. "She rented him one. Right after you got engaged. Said he might need space once he realized what he was giving up." I couldn't believe it. I asked Jake that night. He didn't deny it. "She just got nervous," he said. "It was before we even picked a date. She paid for you to have a way out. She was just trying to help." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stared at him. That night, I started sleeping in the guest room. He didn't follow. So I planned the next part. I sent the journal pages. Just a few, the worst ones, to Chris. Told him I didn't know who else to talk to. He showed them to a few others in their circle. I knew they'd talk. I wanted them to. Then I waited. Let the cracks show. Let Jake feel the quiet, the isolation, the doubt. Let Barbara feel him slipping. And right on cue, she did something desperate. She filed a fake report. I came home to a cop at my door. Someone had called in a welfare check saying they heard screaming, said there might be domestic abuse. The officer was polite, even apologetic. Said it came from an anonymous tip, but I saw her car across the street. I walked right up to it, knocked on her window. She rolled it down halfway. You should go back inside, she said. People are starting to worry about you. I leaned in close. Keep pushing, I said. I promise you won't like how this ends. She didn't answer, just stared. But I saw it in her face: doubt, fear. She wasn't sure anymore if she was in control. Good. Because now I was just getting started. I stayed cold for weeks. Jake would try sometimes a light touches, how was your day? But I never gave him much. I didn't need to. He was unraveling on his own. He looked tired. He looked confused. And most of all, he looked alone. I had the journals. I had the photos. I had his friends slowly turning away from him, all because they finally saw it, what I'd lived with for years. But I wasn't finished. One night, while he was asleep, I took his phone and copied all the messages between him and Barbara. There were hundreds, and some were worse than I imagined. You don't owe her anything. She doesn't understand our bond. I still dream about when it was just us. I copied them all. I made a little package. Screenshots. Journal pages. The video of her standing up during our wedding. Her Facebook speech. Then I sent it. Not to Jake. To everyone else. His boss. His coworkers. His friends. Our church. Her book club. Her neighbors. Our family. The subject line: the truth about Jake and his mother. Then I packed a bag. I left that night. Stayed at my sister's for a while. Filed for divorce the next week. Jake called nonstop at first. Then less. Then not at all. The last message I got from him was a voicemail that just said, "You ruined us." But the truth was, they ruined themselves. I just turned on the lights. I heard through friends that Barbara had a breakdown. Real one. Had to go stay with her sister downstate. Nobody talked to her anymore. Her little world, the one where Jake was her everything, it crumbled. Jake moved out of the townhouse. Last I heard, he was living in a one-bedroom above a liquor store, working remotely, mostly quiet now. People keep their distance. I didn't walk away clean. I'll admit that. I changed during all of it. Got colder. A little meaner. There were days I questioned myself. But then I'd remember her face on my wedding day. That smug little smile when she said I could still say no. And I'd remember him laughing, like her standing up at our ceremony was just a joke. No, they earned this. And in the end, they were right about one thing. He did go home. Only this time, it wasn't the kind of home either of them wanted.